Hi everyone, thanks for clicking on this video. I wanted to talk a little bit today about my experience studying through the book of Psalms for 150 days. It's actually been longer than that because I've taken some breaks, probably about 200 days. An observation that I've made about myself and maybe how that might help some other people, maybe some people who are just starting out reading the Bible for the first time or aren't super familiar with it but are trying to get through it. On this channel, we have been studying and outlining all 150 Psalms in the whole library of the Psalms. We're coming up on 150. We're about a week away from finishing. And one of the observations I've made about myself is that I don't know if I appreciate the Psalms like I should. And I know you're not supposed to admit that, and you're not supposed to admit that like maybe it hasn't been your favorite book to teach through. But that's been my experience, and I think that's just a statement of honesty, I guess, and a statement of acknowledgement that there's still room to grow. As I've been going to Psalm 100, and then Psalm 125, and then Psalm 140, and we're on Psalm 143 today, a lot of times I'm reading the Psalms and I'm like, why do we need another psalm about David complaining about his enemies and asking God to help him through some difficult situation? And this psalm is like almost exactly the same as one that we've already read, with just a few different expressions kind of here and there. Why this book could have been like a third of the length and we could have kind of gotten all the same themes. At least that's my immature thinking. But what I started thinking about after that was that I used to feel this way about books that I now don't feel that way about anymore. Now I really appreciate those books. And it took growing and maturing to fully understand why those books are so valuable in the scriptures and why they're valuable to my life and the comprehension of the Bible and the understanding of God's nature. Probably the best example of this is the book of Leviticus. You go through Genesis and Exodus, and the narrative there, historical narrative, is really, really interesting. But Leviticus is the book where a lot of people give up on their yearly Bible reading, because you read it, it's all these laws about sacrifices and all this stuff that seems so foreign to us. And you read it for the first time, you're like, I don't understand how this relates to me, why I need to know this. Like, why is this in here? And that was my experience as well when I first read it. I was like, can I just skip this? But then you read through the rest of the Bible. You start to understand deeper concepts in the New Testament, or how the Bible is all one connected story, and how these things in Leviticus actually are shadows or pictures of some of the stuff that's coming later on in the New Testament, and even all the way up until today. And then you begin to appreciate what the story that God is telling in all these details and how they fit into this puzzle. And then you go back to Leviticus maybe a couple years later and you read it again and you start to see things that you never saw before. And you're like, oh, this is like actually kind of interesting. All of these pictures that God is making for what he's ultimately going to do through Jesus and through the church. And so I guess the lesson that I'm taking away from this is that I'm struggling to get through the Psalms. I'm feeling like I don't understand why there's so many of them and why we need them all. But the lesson that I've learned from my past is that I probably just need to mature into appreciating the Psalms better. I need to understand God better through his word, understand the other information in the scriptures, understand living the Christian life and how hard that is and the challenges that we'll face. And maybe as I mature and grow, I'll appreciate the Psalms more, as I have come to with a book like Leviticus. And so for application, I guess, if you're struggling to get through a book of the Bible in your reading or in your study, and you have that same feeling, like, why is this here? I don't understand. My encouragement to you would be just read it and familiarize yourself with it, and then try to move on and continue on in the text and read some other stuff and read the rest of God's story. And then maybe when you come back to it, you'll appreciate it more than ever before. And I think this is a process that just repeats over our lives, right? We understand God a little bit better. We go back to his word and we're like, that's why that's there. Then 2 years go by, 3 years go by, 5 years. We understand God better. We're living the Christian life, maybe facing new challenges. We go back to the scriptures. We're like, that's why that's there. And hopefully by the end of our lives, we appreciate every book of the scriptures more than we did in the years previous. So my encouragement encouragement is, if you're struggling to get through it, just press on and know that God develops us over time. And it may be a couple years before you really come back to a book and appreciate it. But when you do come to appreciate a book, it really means a lot to you. And it's really a very enriching feeling to soak up the wisdom that's being shared in that you hadn't seen before. So that's all I wanted to share today, my experience going through Psalms and what I've learned from that. And hopefully it can encourage you if you're getting to those Leviticus days of your daily Bible reading. All right, well, if you would like to finish off the Psalms with us, we've got one more week to go. You can check out our 5-minute Bible studies, and we've almost got 150 outlines for every single chapter. So I'm excited to put the book together on this one. It's going to be definitely the largest of the collection. Lord willing, we'll finish in a week, and we'll move on to something else. I haven't quite decided what that's going to be. I think it's going to be the book of Proverbs. I know some people have been asking me about that, but yeah, if you're interested in what we're going to be looking at next, remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave your comments down below if there's a book that maybe you dreaded reading through previously, but now you've come to appreciate a little bit more. I'd be interested to see. I think Leviticus is going to be up there on a lot of people's list, though. All right. Hopefully, I'll talk to you in another video sometime soon.